Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Corner 3 here on Pittsburgh Sports Live in the Beaver County Auto Studios. Cale Berger, Alan Saunders with you as always. And not too much to get to today, but we had a big-time game for the Pitt Panthers up against Louisville Cardinals earlier in the week on Wednesday, getting their first ACC win in, I guess, someone counted up 690 days or so since their last regular season ACC win. Their last actual one was, of course, against Georgia Tech 2 years ago in the ACC tournament in Brooklyn. But technically, their last ACC one in the regular season was 690 days ago. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to touch on, I'm not going to spoil it. It's a little bit of an interesting NBA topic that I came across on Twitter earlier in the week about maybe how
The way we watch the game.
the future of watching NBA games. And we're going to play a little game with that. But to start things off, Panthers finally get their first ACC win in over 2 years in the second opportunity with Jeff Capel. Only took him 2 games to get that first win, but it was an 89-86 overtime victory over the Louisville Cardinals on Wednesday night. Alan, you were there. I was there, but in the Oakland Zoo. So both kind of got a little different perspective from it, I think. Or
You had better seats.
probably, yeah. I was in the first row. You were probably about the third. I think this was a very important win for the Panthers. Not just because they kind of got that monkey off their back, they won an ACC game, but I think that to that point, they don't have to worry about that anymore. And these players, the players that were there last year, all the sophomores and the veteran players like Jared Wilson-Frame, they don't have that kind of monkey on their back where they got to say, oh, well, can we do this? Can we win a game in the ACC? And you look at these freshmen as well. They already were confident coming in. Well, now they've achieved that hurdle. They've achieved that, and now they're at that point where they have that belief in themselves that they can do it going forward. And I think this is a win against a Louisville team that maybe is not as good as in years past in the first year with Chris Mack, but a team that is still the Panthers have had difficulty with over the last 10 years or so. I think this is a really big game for them going forward, and I think that they're going to build on this one as the season goes on.
And you know what? I think to me it was really big that the way they won too, and that it wasn't just like, they had a game where everything fell, or Louisville didn't make anything and shot 20% and clanged a bunch. Like they went through some adversity in that game, a lot of adversity in that game. They come out and Louisville's sagging. They're playing this pack line man, and Pitt clangs the first 3 wide open 3-pointers, and you can see the North Carolina game happening all over again in your mind's eye so easily at that point. Trey McGowan hits a couple shots. Things start to look a little bit better for the Panthers. Then both guards get in foul trouble. Xavier Johnson's got to go to the bench. They've got to play zone. And then they figure it out. The zone wasn't great. It worked well in the first half, at least as a change-up option.
Yeah.
I think eventually Louisville figured it out, but they played well out of the zone. They made shots. They were able to drive. They were able to kick and drive, which is something they weren't able to do against North Carolina. And then, so then they get into the second half with the lead, and then Louisville starts to make some runs. And Pitt they countered right back. Terrell Brown came out of nowhere at 11 points in like 5 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the foul trouble starts to mount. Brown fouls out. Frame is playing with 4 the whole second half. And Louisville makes a comeback. They tie the game. They make a 3 on the first possession of overtime.
They did.
From halfway to the zoo. And then it was it. They came right back down, made another 3. They win the game. So that was a great game for those freshmen to win because they didn't play a perfect game.
No, not at all.
And Louisville didn't play an awful game. I mean, Chris Mack was unhappy afterwards, but Louisville didn't play
deplorable.
He called him deplorable, and he said that the ass kickings will continue if they don't play better, which is a great line. But I think that was a good win because of the way they did it, and Jeff Capel showing trust in his players and them rewarding him, to me, is huge. I mean, I just think there's so many times you watch a college basketball game where a coach will scheme his way to a win, and protect and shelter his guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Cable did none of that. He let his freshmen play with 2 and 3 fouls. He didn't call timeout at the end of regulation when he had one.
No.
He just let them play. He let the kids play, and they figured it out. They didn't do it perfectly. He didn't bat 1,000 on all those. But to me, that is so important when you're thinking about building something, that those kids were able to go out there and win that game with the effort they put forth and to let their talent, which is obviously evident. I mean, I think Trey McGowan's was the highest rated of Pitt's 3 freshmen from a recruiting standpoint. And until this point, I think you would have said, well, Xavier Johnson has been the better player. I think Wednesday, Trey McGowan showed he's a star. He's a potential star in the ACC. And he showed what he had shown to earn that ranking.
He had certainly shown flashes earlier on in the season. I wasn't sure if, at least at this point, that he was capable of this 33-point outburst, which he would have had closer to 40 if he would have hit his free throws.
Terrell Brown said that in the postgame.
Yeah, but that was something that you talked about with Coach Cable just letting them play, and that was something he mentioned on his radio show yesterday. Actually, was he said that I'm not a coach who's going to pull a guy out if he gets 2 quick fouls. I'm gonna have trust in the guy to play smart, to work his way out of it. And that was something that we saw in this game, was him having faith in his players, having faith in his guys to be able to manage and play with that adversity. And it clearly paid dividends that they were able to come away with the victory. I thought the other important thing was, that they were able to grind out a win, and they were able to win one close as well, which I think also does a lot for their confidence, because this is that type of game that I think that a lot of Pitt Twitter phrases as pitting, where, Pitt's in it the whole game, they have a 13-point lead, and then, end of the game, they kind of blow it or something, or they let it slip away. This was a game that they took care of business, they took punch after punch, got back up, and ended up sealing it in overtime and really played really well down the stretch. I think the other thing that really is notable in this one was the way they played defensively. And I think Terrell Brown was fantastic. He has really, I think, gone from kind of a guy who was lost on the court to a guy who's really turned into one of the elite shot blockers in the ACC. I mean, he has been fantastic.
I wrote today, Pittsburgh Sports Now, Ken Palm shot block percentage 7th in the country. Terrell Brown.
Yeah, 5 blocks in this game. He was fantastic, and he is really doing a great job of utilizing his length. He might not be the most coordinated guy, the most offensively gifted, or maybe even aware, but he's a guy that can alter shots and create issues for the opposing team. But I really have to say, Audice Toney was fantastic in this game, especially matched up against Jordan Nwora.
Smothered him. Worst shooting game of Nwora's season.
Exactly. So he was fantastic on him. And then when Kenny Chukwuka and Terrell Brown fouled out, they had to go 5-guard lineup and put Malik Ellison in a zone at the center position. I thought, even though he really didn't do anything offensively, he's kind of fallen out of favor with Jeff Capel in this lineup, as he's not been a starter, and
his minutes are down a good bit.
Mainly because of just the lack of the offensive game, not being able to hit some free throws as well, shooting about 50% from the charity stripe. I thought he was great in that overtime period in the end of the fourth quarter, or second half, when he was mismatched. He was playing up against centers and power forwards and big men, and he held his own. I mean, they went to his zone to kind of protect him, but I think he did a great job there and really helping Pitt in that tough situation get the victory in the end.
Yeah, I think it was a great win for Pitt and a great win for a lot of the players. I mean, I think you touched on a few of the important points there, especially Brown. He's got to be able to do it without fouling, but what a difference he makes with those blocks. Pitt's going to have good perimeter defense. I think we can pretty well say that.
Yeah. Just
because of the athleticism of Johnson, McGowan's. Cameron Davis off the bench, fantastic defender. I feel like Jared Wilson-Frame is playing much better defense than he did a year ago. So I feel like the perimeter defense, the skill level is just good. And the size and the quickness, the things that you physically value with perimeter defense, Pitt has. Pitt doesn't have the things you physically value when you talk about post defense. They're not great athletes. They're not that big. They don't jump that high. Terrell has good wingspan, but that's really the one sort of physical attribute they have that would lead them to play good interior defense. If he can maximize that and turn into a shot blocker and a shot alterer at this level, combined with the perimeter defense, I think that makes Pitt pretty good defensively. They're number 10, I think, or 11 in effective field goal percentage against. And one of the reasons is they're not giving up cheap layups. They are fouling a lot, but they're not giving up a lot of cheap layups.
They're making you earn it.
And the combination of being able to, the guards are quick enough that they can play tight on the three. When they play a zone, it is the widest zone I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The wings are like at the 3-point line in this zone. And they can still the guards are pretty quick, so you got to be fast to beat them back. And then they've got two big guys that are willing to step up and block a shot. Man, if they had like one more big guy, even if he was no better than the other two they have, they could absorb 5 more fouls. I think I'd feel a lot better about that game plan against Louisville being something that they can repeat going forward in ACC play. But, man, what a win, and just a great feeling around the basketball team right now.
Absolutely, and that is where that kind of issue of not having Pisa Lagoma, even though he wasn't a very often contributor, a very impactful contributor, not having him as just an extra body, it was kind of an issue down the stretch. But they were able to weather the storm and give credit to them for that. And
the issue was, in the middle of the second half, they had Chukwuka and Brown both playing with 3 or 4 fouls.
Yeah.
When they could have taken some possessions to kind of stretch those guys out a bit. And you know what? The way it worked with Ellison, maybe they'll play that 5-guard lineup earlier to prevent those guys from fouling out so they don't have to at the end of the game. Now that Capel's seen it and seen that it can work.
Yeah, that's maybe something I think in the end of the first half or so, between that maybe 10, 5-minute mark, where you can give those guys a breather, get them out if they get a foul or two early. Get Malik Ellison there because I think he's still a fairly solid defender, even though he's not going to give you those offensive numbers. I think he's still a good, lengthy defender and athletic guy still. I think that lineup worked. The extent that they've done it many times before, they've used it in practice, but they hadn't used it with a zone in the game. They used it with man defense, but not with a zone defense in the game. And they did it on the fly, and he said it worked wonders. So credit to Coach Capel. A fantastic coaching job, I think we both agree, in this game. And next up, Saturday, tomorrow, they face off against NC State in Raleigh. So that'll certainly be a
tough place to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great atmosphere there. They play in the same arena that the Carolina Hurricanes play. So Saturday afternoon, NC State's ranked pretty high. So it could be 15,000, 20,000 people there. They're coming off a tough loss against North Carolina, so they're going to be a pretty motivated opponent. That is going to be a tough game. But I think Pitt fans, the one thing I will say is, like, this team is going to have bad games because of how many freshmen they have, and it's going to be they're probably going to have some discouraging games. But, man, remember this feeling. Remember the talent that they displayed, and because it feels good, I'm sure, and they've just got so much promise with the way they're playing right now.
And the final thing I do want to mention on this game from Wednesday was the zoo and the atmosphere in the arena was rocking.
Fantastic.
And the Oakland Zoo was packed. I mean, by the time I had a class right before, so I had to run up the hill to try and get there. I grabbed like the third wristband to get in the arena to be able to see the game. So it tells you how many fans were there, how many students were interested in going to this game, and it wasn't just because they were giving out bandanas or whatever. It was because they're excited about this team. They want to see this team. They want to support this team, and you could see it with the atmosphere that was present in the Pitt on Wednesday night. But moving on to an NBA topic, I want to discuss something that I came across on Twitter earlier in the week that I really thought would be interesting to discuss today on the Corner 3. And so this article from Rico.net, an article about that Twitter has cut a streaming deal with the NBA to show parts of games on the social media platform. And obviously, everyone's trying to find their new innovative way to watch games, to show games. Less people buying TV, more people going to social media. You see with Amazon, Facebook showing different sporting events and stuff. Well, this idea and this deal that the NBA has cut with Twitter is basically they're not going to show entire games on Twitter. What they're going to do, they're going to show the second half of games. but they are going to have what they are calling an ISO cam, where they show you one player and keep the camera focused on them, and you basically watch that one player for an entire second half on Twitter. And the way it works is they'll have the regular games on TNT, and then they'll have a vote on their social media and saying, all right, who do you want to be the ISOCAM player for Twitter today or tonight on the for the second half? And they'll have 4 options on a poll or whatever, and fans will vote of who they want to be the ISOCAM player that they watch. And this sounds like a cool idea to me. It's funny, I think, and it has some potential for some great, I think, just memes, some great content, which I want to get to in a second here. But Alan, first off, I mean, what do you think about this concept?
I think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, first of all, it's something they already do.
Yeah.
They already have an ISO cam. They call it a star cam, where like one camera operator is responsible for just following a guy, whether it's
LeBron.
whether it's LeBron or maybe somebody's close to some kind of record or close to a triple double, and you want to capture multiple angles of the thing that you're hoping that they're going to do. So I mean that's already a thing that they're doing with the in arena camera crew for every game. So it's not like they're doing anything different. They're just publicizing a piece of the broadcast that to this point has just been like, television screen number 9 on the right in the director's studio will now be available to be broadcast to people on Twitter. So I think, to me, it's like a kind of a cool peek behind the curtain part of the television broadcast process. And the other thing to me is I think it's just, it's the NBA being the NBA at its best, right? I mean, it's all about the personalities in that league and the marketing of them, and who doesn't want to see. In fact, I want to expand this concept. I want to follow them. Like, can we get some like drones or so? Like from the minute they get off the bus into the building, I'll start watching because that's. I mean, like, yeah, NBA is great basketball, obviously, but the drama of the NBA and the personalities of the NBA are probably the most fun. It's the thing that has made it part of the national conversation on an every night basis. It's not the basketball. Basketball is great, but it's the stars and the way they've been marketed and the way they're able to show their personalities on the court. And so, yeah, I mean, dude, I'll watch Jimmy Butler in practice. Like, I mean, like, whatever you got, like that. I'll watch Russell Westbrook, like, having lunch with the guys. Like, whatever you got, I'll watch it.
Well, yeah, I'm
in that format.
I am here for all the for all of the NBA content I can get as well. But the other thing, too, is so when the player checks out of the game, they go and just switch to a random camera angle behind the basket that's not the normal television broadcast angle. But as soon as they check back in...
No, I want them on the bench. I want them getting yelled at by the coach. I want them, like, sipping Gatorade.
Russell Westbrook.
I want their reaction when, like... The guy, the backup that just came in for them and took their minutes goes out and on a run and hits 3 threes. Are they cheering with them? Are they sitting there with their head down? Are they cheering out the girl in the 6th row? I want to know what. Like, I want the whole thing.
Or when someone hits a massive dunk and the whole bench is like, "Oh, hold me back."
Yeah, all right, exactly.
Yeah.
I will keep it on them when they're on the bench.
Or when earlier in the season when Russell Westbrook was eating snacks on the sideline.
There's on Twitter over there. Whatever they're doing. I want to.
That's something too I would really like is if NBA players could tweet during the games.
Why not?
What? I would love it.
Let's do it.
It'd be great. But I had a kind of a funny idea that I wanted to toss around with you. Give me like 2 players that you would love to have on the ISO cam. They could be stars. They could be anyone. And then give me 1 player in any sport that you wish that sport had an ISO cam with them.
Okay, 2 players. I was trying to think about this because, to me, I want it to be someone that's dirty. That's.
Yeah.
I don't want a star. I'm already watching Steph every time I watch. I want Draymond. If it's a Warriors game, I want Draymond.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff that you don't. That's the stuff that you miss when you're following the ball.
Yeah.
And so I want to see Draymond tripping people, elbowing guys, that kind of thing. And I don't know. There's that's a big one for me. Other than that, though, I think another good one, a sort of like mold is if you have a team that's got one good player.
Yeah.
Obviously they've got the ball all the time anyway, but I think there's there's opportunities for. I'm trying to think of a good situation, but there's a lot of teams where the ball gets stuck in the NBA a good bit with one guy, and there's some other players on some teams. So some guys that I think are pretty good NBA players that are on a team with one superstar.
Yeah.
And so they don't get any recognition.
Oladipo?
Yeah, there you go.
One
Okay.
guy.
There's like a pretty good player, real good player, probably an all-star.
He's an all-star,
Okay.
last year.
But like not the guy that everybody thinks of when they're turning on the TV to watch that game.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great opportunity to showcase some secondary players that could be stars that maybe aren't yet.
Absolutely.
And then I totally think the dirty guy. That's what I would. That would be my vote every time. Just the dirtiest player on whichever team we're voting for.
Well, I saw another really clever tweet when I saw this article, and it said, this is a really cool idea for young kids that are learning how to play the game. Watching a guy like Steph Curry constantly moving off the ball, running off screen after screen. So cool for a young basketball player trying to learn the game. So creepy for an old man just watching for an older person just watching one player the entire game. But I think definitely one would be a guy like Steph Curry, because the way he is just always moving without the basketball and just all the work he puts in to get open. I mean, people act like, he's just always wide open.
I'm so mesmerized by Curry. I watch him all the time.
Exactly. Exactly. But I really can't wait for the first time they do one of these, and NBA Twitter just decides to make a complete joke out of it. And I want the Lance Stevenson ISO cam.
JR?
I want JR, but...
JR would be great, too.
I want JR, but they got to make sure it keeps going and they fall into the club after.
No, but even JR not paying any attention on the bench,
untying people's shoes at the free throw line.
That's what I want to see. That's the stuff I'm...
Imagine if we had the ISO cam and Lance Stevenson blew in LeBron's ear. If that happened. They obviously caught it on camera, but... I want guys...
Only because it was LeBron. How many guys did he blow into their ear before that
we don't know.
that we didn't know about?
He looked experienced. He looked like he'd been there before.
We didn't have any... There was no Lance Stevenson ISO cam. It was just because it was LeBron. He would have got away with it if he hadn't... Lance Stevenson might have blown in 40 guys' ears. Because here's the other part of that. Who's going to post-game press conference I got Lance out there blowing in my ear. No one's going to say that. It's a perfect crime until you get caught.
You're not going to self-report. No one's going to...
No one's going to...
But I think another guy, guys that, I'd love to see Delly. Patrick Beverly. Just guys that are constant pests.
TJ McConnell.
TJ McConnell. Boban Marjanovic. If I saw Boban just all 7'5" of him or whatever he is just lumbering around there, the camera wouldn't move really. But it would just be really funny to see his facial expressions and just what his thought process the entire time he's out there. He's like, get ball, dunk ball. I really would like to see that. I think for another sport, I think a guy that I would like to see in ISO cam is honestly, I would like to see Antonio Brown throughout the game.
Oh, yeah. That'd be fantastic.
I also think that in soccer, a guy obviously they're the stars, but Messi or Ronaldo would be really cool as well.
I think to me the one that fits really well with that we don't ever really get to see is hockey.
Hockey as well. Hockey
if you have a player like Chris Letang, he's so underappreciated.
Yeah.
Because so much of his work is his speed and using his ability to cut down parts of the ice as a defender and then open up parts of the ice as an offensive player. I think it'd be great for hockey. To be honest, I think hockey, if I was watching the Oilers and the Penguins, you could just give me McDavid and Crosby, and I don't even care what the other. What the other 10 guys on the ice are doing. Just let me watch those two guys, half the screen each. I'm good. I don't need to see anybody else.
You know what? I just kind of had an epiphany where I don't know how this hasn't been done already. Why is there not a Tiger Cam for golf? Where it's just...
I think there is. It's on the stream. You have to go on...
Are you sure?
Yeah,
okay,
well,
you
then
never
can go
mind.
on...
Never mind.
For certain tournaments anyway, you can go on and just track one player.
I know there's a Tiger
tracker
on Twitter.
They do it in NASCAR, too. You can just watch one guy's... so it's not like it's a totally new idea, but I think it's great. And I'll tell you what, with the NBA, sometimes one guy's the only guy you're watching that game for.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And I'd
if you're
watch
watching the Suns, I want to watch Devin Booker.
Right, and I'd watch NBA players play one-on-one.
that is something that I would really like to see in the All-Star weekend. Also, I want them to bring back horse as well, because horse used to be really fun.
Horse.
But I want to do an episode in a few weeks here where we talk about All-Star weekend, the All-Star game, and who's.
I think NBA one-on-one would be fantastic.
It would be.
Who's the best one-on-one player in the NBA?
I'd probably say Durant, because
he's such a
he can pull up from anywhere.
Such an impossible.
His shot's
defensive
almost
matchup.
unblockable. Probably LeBron too, because he can get to anywhere he wants on the court against you.
I think Harden.
But Harden's probably the best.
Because like, who's guarding him? Nobody.
Clearly.
Yeah.
Did you see Steph the other night? Did the Harden step back where he took like 4 steps and they got called for the travel, and then he was like, oh, 13. Why are you gonna call that on me? Very, very funny, very funny. But
yeah, I don't know. Are we calling fouls and travels? Because I may have to. If you're allowed to foul him and he's not allowed to walk, then I don't know about Harden anymore. But Durant's a good pick.
It definitely would be a good idea. But I think this is a great idea for the NBA. I think it's going to be something. Hopefully they start implementing soon, because I would definitely love to see it. And like I said, I can't wait until Twitter just completely makes a mess of it and makes it a complete meme when it's going to be. Who in the Lakers Warriors game do you want to watch? LeBron, Steph, KD, JaVale McGee. Like that's what I can't wait for, because JaVale's gonna win like by 60% of the
guy
votes.
that plays 7 minutes is gonna be.
He starts.
No, I'm saying like.
Oh, but yeah.
Eventually, it'll get.
Yeah.
You know, like they've taken over like All-Star votes, like try to get some like bottom feeder in. Like I could totally see the fans clamoring for I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a low minutes guy on a good team that's on TV all the time, but that could be fun. Hey,
Joe Harris from the Nets is the leading leader in the league in 3-point percentage, and he's the most unsung guy in the entire.
That's a good one. I'll tell you who's another good player that would be good for this is Boogie. When he comes back, he'll be good too. And that's a team where like he's not a guy you're watching, but oh man, would that be great to watch?
It definitely would be a lot of fun. Oh, he's not in the league anymore now, but Nick Young.
And I tell you what, I've got one idea to make this better, and then we got to run. But for the playoffs, when they have this ISO cam, right? So the commentary for the ISO cam is just the game commentary, right?
I believe so.
But so for the playoffs, when it's, we should make a separate commentary feed for the ISO cam with a player that doesn't like that guy on as like the color guy, right? So like
Ray Allen narrating Rondo.
Yeah.
Or they're not in the league anymore, but it would have been great to have Matt Barnes and Derek Fisher.
Right. Or just it doesn't have to be like a personal dislike, but just like somebody that plays that position for a rival team.
Paul Pierce hates LeBron.
There you go. Or like the guy from the team that team just eliminated, right? Like just sitting there commenting on.
Well, I remember when he did that to me last year.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
like
I think that would be fantastic.
That would be great. I would really love to see that. But that's going to do it for us here today on the Corner 3 on Pittsburgh Sports
tell us who
Live.
you want to see on the NBA ISO cam. Leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel while you're down there. Tell us who you want to see. We'll share some good answers if we get them.
Tweet me, Kale_Burger.
Ace Saunders PGH. Hit us both up.
Definitely. So
or at Pittsburgh Sports Live, PGH Sports Live.
Exactly. Also remember to subscribe. Helps us out a lot here. And with that, that'll do it for us here today on the Corner 3 in the Beaver County Auto Studios. We will be back next week.